You wake up, your phone is quiet, the room is too, and you say, "I'm fine." You reply to messages, you smile on cue, you keep going, but something inside shrinks. Loneliness doesn't scream, it sits beside you, in silence, waiting for you to get tired. You learned early, don't be a burden, don't ask for too much, don't show need, so you endure, you adjust, you stay quiet, and call it strength. But let me ask you, when did guarding your heart turn into abandoning yourself just to not be alone? You're not overreacting, and you're not too sensitive. What you feel makes sense. It has a story. There is a name for this: insecure attachment. It forms when love was unpredictable, when presence came and went. As a child, you learned early that affection could fail, that asking could push people away, that relying was dangerous, so you adapted. Strong on the outside, but longing inside. In silence, you learned to read moods, to choose words carefully, to feel before asking, to give before losing. That wasn't weakness. It was emotional survival. You did what you could, with what you had. According to attachment psychology, when care isn't consistent, the heart learns to protect itself before it ever loves. That's why you say, "I'm fine," even when you're not, because showing pain feels like too much risk. You're not afraid of love, you're afraid of abandonment, and you mistake silence for safety, absence for peace, and the most painful part is that you got used to calling normal what always hurt. Pause. None of this started today, and understanding that changes everything. You begin to realize it's not a coincidence. The stories change, but the feeling repeats. The beginning excites, the middle confuses, the ending goes silent. There's always emotional distance, always one-sided effort, always waiting, and always you trying to understand. Something keeps repeating. You look back with more honesty. The people you chose were never fully present. They showed up, but didn't stay. They talked, but didn't go deep. They promised, but didn't sustain. And you accepted it, not from conscious need, but from emotional familiarity. Your body recognizes this kind of love, not as healthy, but as familiar. It feels like before. The same unpredictability, the same emotional instability, and your body mistakes that for connection, even when it hurts. So you give too quickly. You listen more than you speak. You understand more than you're understood. You hold uncomfortable silences. You justify unacceptable behavior. You minimize real needs, all to keep the bond, even if it costs you. When something hurts, you don't confront. You analyze. You adapt. You soften your tone. You change your behavior. You lower your expectations. Because losing feels worse than losing yourself, and that becomes automatic. This isn't a conscious choice. It's unconscious repetition, a quiet attempt to fix the past, as if this time someone would stay, as if this time you'd be enough, as if the ending could change, even starting the same way. The pattern persists, so you try to be easy to love, too understanding, too patient, too strong, too available, and too invisible. Because you learned love requires adaptation, not mutual presence. And here something becomes clear. You don't choose by bad luck. You repeat by emotional habit, a habit built to survive, not to be happy, not to rest, not to feel safe, just to not be alone. And when you see this, silence changes its sound. It's no longer abandonment. It's awareness arriving. It hurts, but it opens space, because now you see the pattern. What is seen can be transformed. If you're still here, it means something inside you is tired of repeating the same cycles in silence. This channel exists for those who no longer want to emotionally survive, but truly understand, heal, and change. Each video is a safe space where psychology and faith meet without judgment or shallow answers. By subscribing, you're not following a channel. You're choosing to stop abandoning yourself and stop walking alone. Click the button now and stay here with us. Over time, the exhaustion appears, not physical, emotional, an invisible weight rest can't fix. You wake up already tired, you talk already tired, you love already tired. Something inside you is drained. This pattern comes at a high cost. You live in constant alert, reading small signs, interpreting silences, anticipating rejection becomes habit. Relaxing feels dangerous. Resting in connection feels impossible. Your body never shuts down. Little by little, you abandon yourself. Not dramatically, but consistently. You swallow desires, minimize feelings, justify absences, normalize what hurts you, and keep going. Loneliness changes shape. It's no longer lack of people. It's lack of belonging. You're accompanied, but not seen. Present, but not safe. And that hurts. You start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why is it always me? Why do they never stay? Doubt becomes identity. Need becomes shame. And silence becomes home. You shrink. Then the false solution appears. Love more. Understand more. Give more. Believe effort will fix it. That patience will save it. That giving will change them. It doesn't. You try to shut down. Promise not to feel. Build emotional walls. Pretend indifference. But the emptiness because the problem isn't feeling. It's feeling alone. It always was. None of this brings peace. Not overgiving. Not shutting down completely. Both hurt. Both isolate. Both repeat the cycle. And your heart knows something here doesn't work. This is where it hurts, but also where it clears, because pain now has a name, a shape, a cause, and when the illusion falls, silence changes weight, something begins to break. Healing doesn't start with the other. It starts with you, not with big decisions, but with small boundaries. For the first time, you notice what you feel, without judging yourself, without fixing it, just noticing. The first action is simple, but uncomfortable. You stop over-explaining, stop justifying absence, stop chasing what runs away. You wait for response, you wait for presence, and you observe. That space reveals a lot. Who stays, who disappears, who sustains, who only accepts one-sided effort. You don't force clarity anymore. You let behavior speak, and you listen. The second action is internal. You begin validating your emotions. Without asking permission, without minimizing, sadness becomes information. Anxiety becomes a signal. Discomfort becomes an alert. Nothing is ignored. You learn to pause before replying, before giving in, before adapting. You breathe into your body, feel your chest, feel your stomach, and choose with awareness. These actions seem small, but they shift everything because you stop reacting and start choosing, not from fear, but from self-respect, not to keep someone, but to not lose yourself. Slowly, something changes. You feel different, less available, less urgent, less anxious, and more whole. It's not coldness, it's presence. Some people pull away, others adjust, some complain, others respect, and you observe it all, without chasing, without explaining, without guilt. This is practical healing, not closing your heart, but guarding it, just as Proverbs teaches, with awareness, with boundaries, with truth and silence. And in that silence, you start feeling something new. Not excitement, not promises, but stability, an inner ground, a steady presence, as if something finally clicked and stayed. Hey, if you got distracted, come back here now. Breathe. This is the most important part of everything you've heard so far. Don't ignore it. Don't overthink it. Listen with an open heart. Maybe you thought God was distant, too quiet, too absent, while you kept trying to connect with unavailable people. But what if the silence wasn't abandonment? What if it was protection? A boundary you didn't know how to set, but God set for you. Because not every closed door is a loss. Some are rescue. You call it loneliness. He calls it a pause, a sacred space between what wounded you and what will still heal you. God doesn't rush, He sustains. You spent years opening your heart without guarding it, mistaking surrender for self-abandonment, calling need love, calling crumbs connection. And God watched it all, not to punish you, but waiting for you to return to yourself. Because love starts within. Scripture says to guard your heart, not out of fear, but because it is a source of choices, source of relationships, source of destiny. When you abandon yourself, you drink from shallow waters and call it fulfillment. God doesn't want to isolate you. He wants to align you, because healthy connections are not born from desperation. They are born from wholeness, from inner rest, from knowing you don't have to break to be loved. Maybe loneliness was the last place where God could finally speak to you. Without distractions, without emotional crumbs, without empty promises, just truth, just awareness, just you and Him. At last, you thought you were alone, but you were being prepared to recognize real presence, to say no without guilt, to wait without anxiety, to choose without fear. God didn't delay your life. He protected your heart, even when you didn't understand, because God doesn't remove people randomly. He removes access, removes patterns, not to leave you empty, illusions, but to return you whole. The love that comes after this doesn't demand the sacrifice of your soul. And when this truth lands, silence stops hurting. It becomes rest. It becomes shelter. It becomes solid ground. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start hearing another question. Are you ready to stop abandoning yourself? You don't wake up different overnight. There are no fireworks, no miraculous promises, but something shifts inside. You no longer chase. You explain less. You abandon yourself less easily. And that is already redemption. Loneliness doesn't disappear suddenly. It loses control, stops being the enemy, becomes a messenger. Now it doesn't scream. It warns, shows when something doesn't fit, and you listen. You learn to stay, not from fear, but by choice. You learn to leave, not from impulse, but from self-respect. Your heart isn't closed, it's protected. The right people feel that. They don't need to be convinced. They don't demand constant proof. They don't confuse love with sacrifice. They arrive slowly, stay consistently, and don't make you shrink. They expand you. You understand something essential. It was never about being too much or not enough. It was about being in the wrong places, with the wrong expectations and no boundaries. Now the axis has shifted, and everything shifts with it. God didn't pull you away from love. He pulled you away from illusion, from attachment that wounds, from unstable presence, from bonds that cost your soul. He didn't leave you alone. He taught you how to return. Home. Home is now you, whole, aware, present, not perfect, but true. And from this place, you love differently. The past doesn't vanish, but it loses power. It becomes reference, not a sentence. You no longer repeat by habit. You choose with clarity. And when it hurts, you don't betray yourself. Maybe you still say, "I'm fine," but now it's different. Because when you're not, you notice, you respect it, you care, and you don't abandon yourself ever again. And in this new silence, you feel peace. Not because someone arrived, but because you arrived within yourself. The emptiness became space, waiting became preparation, and loneliness became a bridge to a love that stays. If this message resonated with you, don't ignore it. This channel exists for those who decided to stop emotionally abandoning themselves. Here, every video is a step toward awareness, healing, and faith applied to real life. By subscribing, you choose clarity instead of walking in the dark. Subscribe now and stay where your soul is honored. If you made it to the end of this video, write in the comments, "I will no longer abandon myself." This simple act is a spiritual commitment to yourself. Scripture says the truth sets you free, and every truth begins when spoken. By commenting, you seal a new cycle, and God honors decisions made with awareness.